ready.
Perfect, because that was the start. This pissed Moan, he's ready.
My God, am I ready?
Ready to complain about what a garbage movie we just saw.
Yeah, I mean, if we needed something to fill the lack of things to complain about from 2020, we got ourselves Monster Hunter.
Like, what better way to come back to YouTube than with Monster Hunter? Could you have picked a better movie?
Me pick? Me pick?
This was the movie you invited me to. I just finally got around to following up on it.
Yeah, right before other issues happened.
It may have been like 2 months ago, but I followed up on it. I followed around.
No, it was 3 weeks ago. That's how long 2021 has been.
Well, no, you invited me from back in 2020. Like you had invited me to see this specifically.
The movie I invited you. Hey, want to go see Monster Hunter tonight? Oh wait, now I can't because my grandfather's in trouble. That's 3 weeks ago.
Oh damn, you're probably right. Yeah, well, of course you're right. You would know. The time is a blur. 2020 is just 2020.
We're not out of the suffering yet. Jeez.
But so we started out 2021 really strong. We went and saw Monster Hunter, and I had to cover my wife's eyes for a good portion of it because this was not an action flick at all. This was like a body horror gross movie.
Yeah, it was just, let's be gross. It was an excuse to film a horror monster movie with a familiar label that would drag in audiences.
Yeah, exactly.
God, it was so very obviously designed to promote Milo Jovovich as a leading character, a person who has very little personality in any of the characters she plays.
I feel all she's done is bring herself down to the same caliber as the guy, Perlman, right?
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman.
He can at least act. He's great in Hellboy. We know Ron Perlman can act when he needs to.
Wasn't he in the most recent one? Or who was the action?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was David Harbour. That's the guy who plays the sheriff in Stranger Things. And I mean, he can act too if he gets a good script. But
I was gonna say this felt like that last Hellboy. Like this was the reaction I had when we went and saw that most recent Hellboy. Like that was not what I was expecting at all. That was not what this was like played up to be. This was not good. I did not enjoy this. This was stupid, bad, and just like. I do not recommend it. Like, if you're gonna pick a movie to see during the lockdown or follow on starting to reopen, this should not be your first choice.
It's not just a bad Monster Hunter movie. It's a bad movie.
It's not even just a bad movie.
Amateurish filmmaking I've ever seen.
I think there was some good choreography there. I know you don't agree with me, but how could you say that? Because you couldn't tell.
That's how I know.
No, that doesn't mean it was bad. I thought I saw good choreography. It was very tied, horrible cinematography.
God, the problem is it's the same darn fight choreography that Marvel does, where you show one move, you cut, and then you show another move and you cut. And then you show one move and cut 3 times during that move to get it from different angles, so you have no idea what's going on anywhere. And then you call it an action scene because, hey, fists are flying, people are making oof noises, and the stakes are raised.
I was going to say I want to rewatch it to see how many cuts there were, because I felt like they didn't do cuts so much as just choppy camera work. Like, the camera was constantly, like, impossible to follow, but I felt like they actually had some extended shots.
The only extended shots I felt were scenery and monster roars at camera. That is all I could. That's all I can remember, because it was close up, establishing shot, close up, establishing shot. It was awful. There's no excuse. So just shittily made.
And it was so fundamentally bad on every aspect. This was not a Monster Hunter movie. It was a gory monster movie set with Monster Hunter monsters and
I don't even
weapons.
feel like we need to worry about going into spoilers because
There's nothing to spoil. I don't think that there's a plot point that the trailer didn't spoil.
I don't think there's a plot point that hasn't been seen in another movie already.
I don't think there was really any plot points in the movie, to be fair.
I mean, you've got your obligatory E.T. talk to alien using candy.
Candy,
You've
chocolate. It was so stupid, the decision that they couldn't communicate. That was so dumb. It was such lazy writing.
Again, it was all for the point of having
Tropes.
what's her face be the lead. No, it's so she could steal the show. They want to have a fish out of water story with a paper thin character that can do anything ever. God,
And they had no reason for the conflict other than to show that she could beat him up. Like, the conflict between them had no point. Like, he was clearly trying to help them until he could meet him.
I know, you were in the bathroom
did I miss something?
for the first scene they meet. For some reason, he comes up and holds her up with a knife for no goddamn reason.
Exactly what I'm saying. There's no point. Like, why would he be hostile to her?
Yeah, conflict has to happen because conflict has to happen. That's why.
I hated the bug scene. The bug scenes were so unnecessary and pointless. Because you know what they did with the poison that they got? Jack fucking shit. They
shot him in the eye.
It was supposed to put him to sleep.
He blinked away the eye. They shot an arrow in his eye and he blinked away the lack of an eyeball.
He blinked away the poison on his eye, so now he can see fine again.
And then they just stab him to death. After collecting the sleep poison. God.
None of it made any sense. Like, so the poison didn't put him to sleep, like they said. It instead blinded him for no apparent reason. The arrow in his eye apparently didn't blind him. He could blink the arrow out and the poison out. It's just, none of it made any sense. This is also the same poison that appeared to have no effect on the main character. And she didn't get infected with babies because reasons.
Because she's the main character. Malracy?
Yes.
She's such a blatant self-insert.
It was...
Famous trip. She had no character. Nobody had any character in this movie.
Palico had a little.
The what?
The Palico had a few little bits.
No, he was grumpy and then he winked. Well, maybe he had character, but he didn't have consistent character.
No.
He's angry and then he's suddenly flirtatious.
I stand by, that was the most character of anyone in the show. I'm still not even sure if the main character has a family or not. It's certainly heavily implied, but...
She has a goddamn ring that factors into the plot 0 after the first 20 minutes.
Yeah!
Do you even remember that ring? Because it's such a big deal for the first 20 minutes. And
that's
then
replaced by his parcel of family figures.
Yeah, family things.
None of it made any sense. It
family D&D miniatures.
Incoherent. This feels like a movie that wasn't written with a plot, but like around scenes, and they just kind of fucking like smashed them together.
I feel like it was a movie made for this person to have a starring role.
God. I did look up the budget and profit on this one. Apparently its budget was approximately $60 million, and it made 12, like, total.
Damn. 60 million's really kind of cheap for a movie.
Is it? Okay.
Damn, 12 million.
Because it seemed like it was a high-budget film from the animation quality and...
It's pretty cheap. Well,
CGI can be really cheap.
depends on your standard. For a summer blockbuster movie, which I'm sure it was intended to be, that is hella cheap.
I cannot imagine that someone like sat down, put this together, and said, "This is going to be a summer blockbuster." This felt like a B horror movie.
Oh, it's typical Paul W.S. Anderson. That's the guy who did all the Resident Evil movies. The only good movie he's ever done was what's it called? The one we watched together, the Event Horizon.
Ah.
It's the only good movie he's ever done.
Who gave him this franchise? Why would you give him Monster Hunter?
He has money. 10 cents involved. I mean,
that was still the biggest. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again because we said it beforehand. But that was the biggest surprise of the movie, was that it was produced by Tencent of all people.
Yeah,
China
don't worry, we all really like our Chinese government. And
Chinese company making a American movie about a Japanese game.
It's okay. we will fall in line when asked. It's fine.
Yes.
We love China.
I'm sorry, China. You were let down by an American company and a Japanese IP. I'm sorry that you got stuck with such a crappy thing to work with. I look forward to future Tencent movies with good quality actors and material.
European anyway. That was another thing. There were like 6 different studio logos at the beginning of that movie.
Yeah. I wouldn't want my studio affiliated with this.
It was awful.
It was surprising because it felt like there was like the there was like moments where it like peeked through, like, oh, this is, yeah, there's the Monster Hunter starting to peek through, like when the freaking Calico showed up and was just like, that was the only jump scare that was worth anything.
It's a Palico, bro.
Palico? I couldn't remember if it was Palico or Calico. I said Palico first and thought I was wrong.
Yeah.
I can't believe they didn't do the eat food and then, like, they didn't do this at all. That's such an iconic Monster Hunter thing. They even did, like, the meat on a spit.
One thing where it was, they delicately placed the leaf on top of the meat. Good work.
Well, they did the whole, like, chef cooking thing. That was, like, straight from Monster Hunter World. Throws the meat on there, cuts it into blocks, sort of. And then puts this little thing on.
Yeah.
Why did they bring the guide from Monster Hunter World? She is so unpopular, and they decided to bring that single character. Well, that and the Palico.
Well, they brought somebody wearing her outfit.
Yes.
Well, Ron Perlman was supposed to be the master guy, the captain of the ship.
Really?
Yeah, that's the same hair and everything.
It looked so out of place on him. He looked, I hate to say, he looked not fit for the role.
He looked old.
He looked old and overweight. It just, he
looked like he was doing someone a favor by being here.
Yeah.
God, his weapon was so stupid. Swing greatsword, hit the ground, boom, fire away.
It was a switch axe. It wasn't a greatsword.
What the hell was that from?
It was a switch axe. You know, like, or not a, this. I'm pretty sure it was a switch axe, but it looked like it was doing the switchblade thing. You know, the vials and then the discharge.
I don't feel like anything in Monster Hunter that isn't a freaking gun lance with Wyvern Blast or whatever.
The full discharge.
That frequently.
Remember the charge blade? I think it was, where you do all the things, you charge up the vials, you power up your sword, you power up your shield.
It pops a couple times in midair when you swing it. It doesn't really giant wave of fire.
I know, because you do your thing and you go chink, and then you come down and you do the giant smash that goes.
Yeah, but it doesn't shoot waves of fire.
No, not quite. It's the closest thing, and it was a switch axe that he had. He didn't have the charge blade, so it doesn't even make sense if that was what they were going for. They had the switch axe, which doesn't do anything like that. They used the IP not at all. They just kind of like threw random shit in, and
No, the only Monster Hunter thing about this was the fact that the monsters were from Monster Hunter. And you couldn't even... I didn't even know what that last monster was after...
I couldn't tell. I
the
thought maybe
Rathalos.
it was supposed to be like a Nergigante, but then no, that was definitely not Nergigante. Then maybe the like undead one, but it wasn't that either. I thought maybe it was going to be
It's
Kushla.
probably from some... It's probably from something we haven't played, but...
Maybe from the ice one.
The lighting, it was... All the monsters are just big black creature. I couldn't tell if it was, to quote you, Dynamo Hermitar.
I didn't... Oh. You're talking the bugs now?
So what is a crab in the game being giant insect in the movie? I didn't know which of the giant...
I don't even know if that was supposed to be a Monster Hunter monster. I thought they were going to be the...
I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a Hermitar or whatever the other crab ones are.
I thought it was maybe the bugs, you know, like the Vespoids or...
Vespoids fly.
Yeah, I feel like there's some bug. I'm picturing the frickin' the level you fight Monster Hunter World, this first level where you fight Rathalos.
Those are all grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Those are interesting. They aren't just crawl on the ground and kill you and impregnate you with other bugs,
No.
because
It's like they stole it straight out of frickin'
every goddamn...
Right? It was only there for the gross factor. There was a lot of that. And
It was a freaking trope off this whole movie. There was not a single element that was not borrowed from something else.
Like the blatant use of red shirts was outrageous.
Yeah.
Fucking killed everyone off. That wasn't a famous actor.
You're lucky you weren't sitting next to me thanks to COVID, because I would have been saying, yes, here is the token character introductions before we kill everybody off. These characters all have one quirky trait that will play into their death somehow. Hooray!
It was so bad.
I'm going to stick my dog tags on my shoes. That way, if I lose my head, they'll be able to identify me. Yo,
we're
dog tags do
definitely
that
gonna see
around their
that.
neck anyway? That's already the point of dog tags?
In what war are you more likely to lose your head than your foot?
Not even on freaking alien alternate dimension thing does that make sense.
Yeah, I don't think the bugs were even a veiled attempt at being in alignment with the Monster Hunter world. I felt like they stole those straight out of Starship Troopers. Or, name any B horror movie with bugs.
Right. Let's go with The Mist. Well, that's not B. I shouldn't call that B.
Oh, I hated that movie. That was just so depressing. Hey, go figure. A Stephen King story that's depressing.
I don't think I've seen it outside of YouTube stuff. God, because I feel so bad. Because Tony Jaa was interesting in Monster Hunter. Whatever his Hunter, that was his character.
Just Hunter. He doesn't even get a name. Actually, do any of them get a name that aren't the main character? She might be the only named character.
The red shirts all have names.
Well, not any of the Monster Hunter ones. Only the military guys.
Nope.
Like
Ron Perlman's character is just Admiral. Somebody's literally named Axe. Good job. You named somebody after a weapon in a Monster Hunter thing.
I find so little of value in this. Like, it wasn't a fun action movie. Like, it failed as that. It wasn't a, enthralling monster movie with cool monsters that they fought. They were just...
Big.
Well, and they didn't, actually fight him. Like, her fight with the Rathalos, she just kind of stood there and chopped at nothing. It felt like she did jack squat.
God, no! What a freaking telegraphed kill for the Rathalos. And they stole from freaking How to Train Your Dragon. Ignite the dragon from the inside. Good job.
Well, and they just overdid it so much. They focus. I could understand. Oh, we explain how to kill it. They foreshadowed that kill 12 times?
God, why the hell didn't they had it stop and look at her and breathe so they could set up that this is going to be how she kills her. She should have been dead. God, she should have been dead 10 minutes into the movie.
The big one is the bug thing. I don't understand how. Like, it was just. It's a joke that she's.
The scene with the bugs, where they show them charging out of the cave and then they get hurt by the sunlight. The only thing that was there for was to establish to the audience that, oh, these things don't like sunlight. It was so blatant and stupid. Like, if you're allergic to sunlight, you're not going to run towards sunlight until you get touched by sunlight and then retreat. You're going to be like, oh, that's sunlight. I'm not going to go towards it.
There's so little redeeming in this. This was one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
Yeah, this was definitely sequel trilogy bad. I don't think I would put it as worse than Your Highness.
If we did a worst movies of 2020, this would definitely make the list. We'd have had to see enough movies to make a list because 2020 was 2020, but this would have made it.
This would have been down there.
This is absolutely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'm blown away by how bad it was.
God, they had to make everything so sticky and gross.
And so serious.
That's for me, that's the appeal of the Monster Hunter setting, is how hilariously unself-aware and optimistic it is.
You're this random person who's jumped on the back of a lightning unicorn, and you're way too big for it. And you're beating it with your enormous sword while riding its back. It's just that's the point. It's supposed to be silly.
Well, and it's always something like, oh, this giant dinosaur thing is terrorizing the farmers and making them have trouble harvest their carrots. And you're like, this thing is 40 feet tall and breathes fire. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of a nuisance. Get rid of it.
I imagine if they had done that. If they had just taken like the plot for Monster Hunter World and ended with the fight against not Kushladora. Who's the big one? The giant rock?
Not Nergigante.
You fight Nergigante on it, though.
Yeah.
Actually, that would have been the better end, though, is to take it through to Nergigante. Fight the giant rock monster and then beat Nergigante.
I will say I'm impressed they didn't do the stupid thing where they're about to fight a big monster and then it gets eaten by another bigger monster. I thought they were going to do that with Rathalos at the end, where as she's facing it down, something bigger shows up. God, more shit to bitch about. They didn't end the movie. They didn't know how to end the movie.
Yes!
They're like, okay,
another fight.
How do we resolve a movie where, okay, they're going to go to another fight and cut for sequel bait?
It's stupid because it's not hard. You just have them say, good job, and they go back and they destroy the tower, and it's done. But no, you had to throw the worst sequel bait I think I've ever seen. And another one!
Well, I don't think they could have even ended with going back and destroy the tower, because that would involve the characters making decisions besides survive.
Just being drug along by the plot.
Yeah.
They introduced a big bad villain at the end, like they were going to get some sort of giant sequel to explore who the big baddie is in the cloak on the tower.
God, I forgot about that existing.
That's because it existed in the movie for 5 seconds.
Yeah, God, who even cares? It's a person in a cloak.
I doubt they even have an idea of what they were going to do with that.
Mystery box.
Yeah, it was just like throw in at the end for the sequel bait, in case. My God, some of the laziest film creation. It's just so bad.
Because they do the survival thing where you've got a main character out of their depth who's in pain and struggling, but we have no reason to care about this character.
I love that they had a training montage that took place over the course of like 12 hours.
Well, I like how they suddenly magically have armor that fits her.
Yes.
They suddenly have a giant arm grappling hook gun thing that she could use. Like, where did that come from? Guy has an unlimited supply of explosive arrows in his quiver.
Yeah. You see, that's the kind of funny, self-aware stuff they could do with what is Monster Hunter. But no, they just took it totally seriously. He just has unlimited exploding arrows. And apparently guns do nothing, but the arrows are wildly more effective.
God, because it could be fun. You do something like, you reach the end of the movie and your character's like, we better take care of this monster soon. I'm about to run out of arrows. And somebody looks at the quiver and like, how can you tell? And just cut away. Don't answer it. Just, how do you know?
That's the kind of self-aware stuff that they should have been doing. Like they get there and like, what is that sword? And like she tries to pick it up. Wait, what? What? And that's it. They just move on.
It's like freaking. They show that the dual blades light on fire, but they don't show.
That I actually like that. They do that, and then they just don't address it. I like that. Like you gotta warn me before you do something like that. Like what? What was that? Why did the bone sword start on fire when you?
The issue with that is she acted like it was something she would have known to be warned about. Like.
There was a lot of potential here.
Instead of saying, you need to warn me about that, she should have been like, what the hell? And he just shrugs.
And that's it. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. You don't need to address it too much. Like, yeah, I feel even saying, why didn't you warn me about that is going too far.
It acknowledges that there's some sort of logical consistency here. That this makes sense that this could happen, not...
Yeah.
The problem was you didn't warn me that my blades ignite.
It's the problem, yeah. Because that's how you do fish out of water comedy. You don't treat it like, well, I should have seen that coming. Why didn't you tell me about it? It's like, I didn't even think that seeing this coming was a thing that should be done.
Like now I want to like write a comic that is this concept but done as just a fish out of water comedy. And you know she's got her gun and she's going to town, just blazing away. Then he just shoots it and just drops dead with the arrow. And it's like, wait, what? I've been shooting it with a 50 cal. What? Yeah, and then she's just got a bow after that. You can't write this kind of a story seriously, because it's just nonsense.
Well, it's because what I would do is I'd do like, I've been shooting that with the bullets. How did you kill it with an arrow? They just go like, birch arrows, and they keep walking.
No, not birch. It's got to be like, oh, Rathalos bow strong.
It's just gonna be something that doesn't make any sense, but they treat it like it explains everything.
Do you know how many Rathalos I killed for this bow?
Because that's where the real potential lies in fish out of water comedy. Is the explanations don't explain anything. Yeah, because it's like, well, how does the Stargate work? Well, we plug the crystals in here, and they manifest the portal, and you're like, okay, wait, crystals? Ice? What?
I'm picturing they use the poison. They put the Diablos to sleep, and then he goes over and he. What are you doing? I'm charging. What?
God, there's so much comedy potential with the Monster Hunter setting, with the fact that people just don't get hurt.
Yeah, the Diablo sends a flying, and then he just like Superman's dives out of the.
God, because I knew the movie was going to be wrong when they landed the New World and someone gets skewered by Diablo's horn. I'm like, people are dying? This isn't Monster Hunter.
Diablos didn't get his horn stuck in anything.
Flying off in the distance.
like
Get back up.
Team Rocket style.
God, they were in a sandy location, and not a single character landed headfirst in the sand, fell on their back, and then got back up. How do you do that? How do you not do that with the Monster Hunter setting?
They gave this license to the absolutely wrong crew, and the box office shows. I mean, like the fact that the live-action Sonic movie was so significantly better than the Monster Hunter it's baffling. And the Sonic was so bad to start with that they literally did a reshoot of the whole main character. He was animated so badly. And it was way better than this. I'd have taken original creepy Sonic over this.
Oh God, I don't know. It's still my favorite part of the Sonic movie was still the unintentional humor. With the what was the scene? It was they're talking about something. Well, I was breastfed as a kid, and then he's like, "Nice," and I'm just lost it. And that wasn't even a joke. It's like, because he's supposed to be nice. Now I have to remember that you reminded me that I was an orphan. But the dude just said, yeah, I was breastfed as a kid. And the other dude said, nice. God.
Oh, there was a couple of those moments for me when I laughed. Oh, when he said he was gonna tie his thing around his boot, I laughed. Rosanna hit me because it was just like, it's incredibly morbid, it's incredibly stupid, makes no sense, and they just like, yeah, that's a thing. This isn't clearly just bait for a future follow-up that has my dead foot in it.
God, I like how they had the obligatory Hicks character too. We're all gonna die! We're all gonna die! Shut up.
And she died.
It's the cast of Aliens without the cast of Aliens. God. There isn't a movie this movie didn't copy.
It's just a mishmash of the worst tropes and things from all of the other things, with the Monster Hunter World universe kind of slapped over it, like half over it. Because they couldn't even get like half the villains right. Like they have all of the Monster Hunter universe to play with, and they had to make up the weird ass bug things. There
were antagonistic monsters in the Monster Hunter universe. And frankly, Rathalos isn't one of them.
Rathalos is very iconic, but
not as an antagonist. God, I don't think he's been a final boss in a Monster Hunter game.
He's like your first stat check. Yeah. He's like the Capra Demon. It'd be like if you made a Dark Souls movie and the Capra Demon was the big baddie. Now I'm picturing it. Fish out of water, Dark Souls movie. They have to fight some Silver Knights, and then it's the Capra Demon for the end.
You know what the worst part of all this for me is? It was another goddamn isekai anime. You've made me watch too many of those.
Oh, I've got another one
God.
for you.
Well, too bad. I'm done.
What if it's about a cute spider?
No.
They don't anthropomorphize her.
It doesn't matter. I don't think they anthropomorphized the slime in the slime one, did
Oh
they?
yeah, they do. She gets a human body and is very cute. And gender neutral, so everyone can love.
Oh, self-inserting to the max.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
God forbid we characterize a main character.
I think to actually get into this, the spider one is actually really good from that specific perspective because it takes that whole trope and turns it on its head. Instead of the character getting isekai'd into being one of the main characters in this world, which all of her classmates do, she gets isekai'd as a literal, like, just generic spider in the dungeon. And she has to, like, min-max her way out of the dungeon as a spider. And it's quite good. For the
I don't
genre.
know, still sounds like...
Yeah, don't do it, don't do
Konosuba.
it. It's not up your alley. It takes itself a lot more serious than Konosuba. It's not a comedy for comedy's sake.
Yeah, I feel like Isekai has one plot.
Save the world?
Yeah, wish fulfillment. Like, how they get there might vary. Like, but it's all... The plot is always the same, it's the hook that's different. It's, oh, I'm in another world, and this time I'm wearing...
A shield!
Steel-toe boots!
This time I've got a shield! Actually, that one's already been twice. Although, I do like the one where it... That one might actually end up being right. I haven't watched that one enough. The one where... But I'm actually a pro wrestler from, like, the WWE circuit, and I don't give a shit about humans. All I care about is animals. So he goes and starts befriending the monsters and suplexes the princess.
Okay, I suppose, but then...
I don't know where it
It's
goes
not
from
a
there.
plot, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know where the actual plot comes in.
Yeah, because that's the problem with a lot of isekais, is just, there is no plot. It's just, haha, look at wacky fish out of water humor.
Well, that's really... I feel like that's exclusive to Konosuba. At least doing it well. Most of them are power trip fantasies and don't rely too heavily on the comedy.
Oh, I mean, yeah. As the thing, what is the plot of No Game No Life?
I was going to say, like, everything is a derivative of No Game No Life or Konosuba. They're the ones that take them to their logical extremes. Konosuba doing it well, No Game No Life not.
I cannot believe that people still ask for a season 2 of that shit.
I'd watch it.
I know you would. I know you'd make me watch it.
I'm tempted to have you watch.
I watch it.
I'm tempted to have you watch Attack on Titan.
I tried to get through season 1. I mean, admittedly, it's been several years since I tried to get through season 1.
The problem is the start of Attack on Titan for me is it's so mystery box heavy, but it's got a clear finish in mind, and it's not a mystery box with no payout. Everything has been logically thought out, and there's a reason, explanation, and like it functions. It's all actually building up to a thing, and it makes sense. It's. I'm really impressed by it.
My issue with Attack on Titan so far has been awful pacing, and like I'm worried that it's doing the set up lots of characters just to kill all of them off. But as far as I can tell, it does more of the characters than just that.
Yeah, that's the start, and I think that was really largely just the hook. It definitely gets better about that, just killing off characters for killing off characters.
Have you finished it?
I'm up to date. I'm one episode behind. It's not quite done yet.
Because I did get spoilers that Potato Girl dies.
You son of a bitch!
What?
You just spoiled!
You said you were caught up!
I said I was one episode behind! Don't worry about it. Yeah, I feel like I want to say that the pacing isn't that bad, but it's fucking 67 episodes that I'm on. Or 68? No, 67's the current one, so... Like, Jesus. It's a long burn.
Well, now I'm gonna feel bad all night.
Don't be. Just don't worry about it. I don't worry about spoilers too much. It's not something that I get worked up about. I played it up for the bit. Don't worry. Hey, you did technically spoil it, but I don't care.
Well, yeah, and you wanna know how I found out? I found out by a giant photo on Facebook with a tiny in the post thing. Spoilers. But the whole picture was just rip character.
That's pretty lame. Yeah, the reason I recommend that is specifically around the plot line of The Last of Us 2 and what they were trying to explore, and like I feel that this one does a way better. Yeah, I don't want to get into too much because it's very spoilery, but that circle of revenge and doing what has to be done, and they actually explore that.
Well, because I always go back to, yeah, but Tales of Berseria already did it the best.
This comes from a very different direction, a much larger scale.
Say better than something I haven't seen.
It explores a very different aspect of it.
It's just, if you're going for revenge morality stories, that would be my first recommendation. Honestly, because Mask of Zorro is another good one. I'm pretty big on revenge stories now that I think about it.
Then I feel like you should watch Attack on Titan. God, it's a big thing to chew on, though. I'm recommending a 60-some... I think it's like going to be 70 episode saga.
Not too bad.
It's a lot of content.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went through the entirety of TNG last year, and I'm still working on DS9.
Yeah, binging through the entire of TNG is impressive.
I mean, it took a while. And technically, it wasn't all last year. Some of it was years before.
There's a lot of other littler things that I'd recommend ahead of it, though. Even though, like, Steins Gate's pacing is also fucking atrocious. That's another one I'd recommend a lot. And the top of the list would still be Mob Psycho 100.
I've had Steins Gate recommended to me by enough different people that I'll probably get to that at some point. And I'll have to do Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood pretty quickly, too.
I don't know. I feel like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, it's like... Yeah, it's great. But it's like saying, oh, you have to watch Lord of the Rings. Like, what does Lord of the Rings bring to the table that's unique? It's a foundational piece. It's great and, like, executes phenomenally, but it's not like it's innovative or bringing anything to the table. It's more like history, and that's how I feel about Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but history is important.
Yes.
I would say Lord of the Rings executes everything it does the best. Basically, if we're gonna get into praising Lord of the Rings, I'll never stop.
And that's what
I don't think there is a better story in terms of the films ever.
So that I would hold that same kind of praise for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's why I'm not saying that as a purely negative. I was just like, it is like a core foundational part of anime, in my mind at least. Not like some of the other ones I've heard compared, like freaking Akira or Ghost in the Shell. They're foundational in the way the Matrix was. It was revolutionary. It's not like a core part of history. I think people will recommend Full Metal Alchemist forever, kind of like they do with Avatar. The Last Airbender, that is.
Okay, I was about to say, nobody remembers Avatar. That's Space Fern Gully, right?
Yes. We should probably call it. It's quite late here. We just watched the movie today. I once again do not recommend it. Now, right at the end, let's give it our out of 10.
Do not give 10. I mean, your.
Do not give 10. Give your money to the Chinese organization.
Do not give any money to Monster Hunter, the movie.
Here's what my recommendation is. You get yourself a ticket. You go to the movie theater. You go and watch something else. Give them their money and then steal something from someone. Don't actually do that. I'm not advocating theft, but don't see Monster Hunter.
No, I would do it the other way around. If you're gonna go see Monster Hunter, buy a ticket to something else.
No,
and then go see Monster
you need to give Tencent your money. Don't watch the movie, but give Tencent your money.
That's right. I'm sorry, Tencent. Not falling in line.
You just got a little confused. That's all.
Keeping on pace with. It's midnight. It's exactly really, midnight right now.
The problem is America's handling of COVID. I'm sorry, Tencent. You gotta hold them accountable. It's not our fault.
Yep. We are so demonetized.
We'd have to be monetized to be demonetized. Fuck you, YouTube. You're not China. I don't give a shit about appeasing you. I want that to be your exit.